Social media is under major fire after yesterday. Of course, this is not the first time that Facebook or Twitter have been in trouble with the United States Senate. A few years back, both CEOs were ripped and reamed for their poor censoring practices against those who viewed the world differently than them. Since 2016, both companies have been under major scrutiny for how they handle censoring of political views. There were tons of claims about them only censoring Republicans and letting Democrats do whatever they wanted. At first, I thought this was a bit silly, but as time moved on, their censoring practices came knocking on my front door. So let me back up a little bit here and give you a little bit of personal history, and then we'll get back to yesterday's excitement. Over the years, I've had a lot of social media accounts, most of which I've deleted. I've always hated Twitter, but I still had two accounts. The first one was my personal account that I deleted. The second one was a test account that I used to prove my theory correct, and then I deleted it. I'll explain that in a moment. I've never really cared to have TikTok or Vine or anything else like that, but I have been on social media since around 2006, and I've been on various company sites and usually ended up deleting my accounts when I got bored. So needless to say, I've had a lot of social media experience, and I kind of sometimes wish I hadn't. Personally, I believe that we should spend less time on social media and more time with the people around us. Social media is actually not so social. Ironic, right? Studies have found that it increases anxiety in teens and young adults, among several other issues. Also, people get too wrapped up in it and forget about those around them. Not to mention that, yeah, sure, pictures of places and scenery are nice, but go out and experience the world for yourself. Take great photos and make your own memories in the real world rather than just enjoying life through other people's photos. Before my rant goes on forever, I'll just go ahead and stop there, but I could probably make a 30-minute video just on my annoyances with social media and how people really need to focus on life rather than their phones, but another day, another time. As mentioned earlier, in 2016, there was a lot of claims about social media censoring certain political parties. I kind of believed it, but I wasn't sold on it. I figured that it was really just a lot of coincidences, to be honest. I wasn't 100% in belief on that. The claims got worse, and Facebook, as well as Twitter CEOs, both faced congressional hearings and got reamed. To be honest, it was pretty funny and well-deserved, especially watching Zuckerberg sit on a cushion. I didn't realize he was short, either that or his butt really hurt from the reaming he got from the senators. On all of the platforms that I've been on, I had never been banned from any of them until 2016. Facebook banned me. Facebook started banning me for memes, most of which made no sense because I got them from Facebook, and the original post was never removed, and the original poster was never banned. So why did they ban me? Doesn't make sense. 2017 was really no different than 2016. In 2018, I really spent more time banned from Facebook than on the platform itself. Why? Well, because they started targeting my account. Keep in mind, I had never been banned before 2016 when I got banned a couple times, and the same in 2017. But 2018 was different. Not only was Facebook targeting my account for conservative posts, political memes, joking memes, and posting my personal opinions, which, by the way, were not vulgar as I don't cuss on Facebook, but Facebook was also banning me for posts dating back to 2012, 13, 14, and 2015. They were literally stalking my account to try to find a reason to ban me. Sure, you might think that maybe the algorithms were finally catching up to me and things I posted, but no. If that were the truth, the original posters would have had their posts removed, but they didn't. And the original posters would have been banned every time I got banned, but they didn't. So this wasn't an algorithm, this was really actually starting to get personal. I know it sounds silly, but that's how I feel. 2019 was not as bad as 2018 because what I did was I made a second Facebook account that doesn't share the same name, any contact information, and so on and so forth. I used that account for memes and jokes, and then used my regular Facebook for everything else. So I tried to separate that to see maybe it was the memes. Well, both accounts continuously got banned. But the memes that I did post on my second account, sure, some of them were pushing limits and testing boundaries. But the messed up part is every single thing that I shared was already on Facebook. In fact, I was banned for sharing posts from Facebook onto Facebook when the original poster was never banned and their posts were never removed. Like I said, this happened on multiple occasions. And it's quite silly, actually. If you're going to ban somebody for sharing it but not ban the actual original poster, what sense does that make? But they kept doing that to me. Besides the memes on my second account, like I said, Facebook was banning me for sharing my conservative posts too. Nothing was vulgar, not really hateful. It was just sharing things that were already posted on Facebook that I agreed with. Most of it actually had factual evidence inside the post itself, so it's not like they could ban me for misinformation. In 2019, I had actually deleted my Twitter account. They banned me a matter of 6 times in 1 month for being conservative. I'm 100% serious in that. I shared a conservative point of view, I got banned. I replied to someone who was enticing hate and violence upon those who they did not agree with, and I was yet again banned. And none of my posts were vulgar. I don't use vulgar language on social media at all, but I got banned for defending myself while the person who's pushing violence against people like myself was not banned and their tweet wasn't removed. It did not violate their standards according to Twitter. These posts remained untouched, and the people themselves were never banned or even warned. These posts were racist against mostly whites, but there was a few other races in there. They were sexist mostly against men. They were violent against Republicans of all colors, sex, and religions. The people that were tweeting this out and spewing this hatred were in fact liberals. This was a known fact because it literally had it in their bio on their Twitter profile. So, needless to say, I deleted my Twitter account. It really made me mad that they were taking this political bias. So I was like, you know what? I'm removing myself from this horrible social media as it is. I mean, everything about it is horrible, but their community standards were even worse. So I started a second account in 2019 after deleting my first account, just purely as a test. And in early 2020, I deleted it because my test proved myself right. First, I started with, I'll just make it a meme page. I shared a bunch of memes that even Facebook banned. Nothing. Twitter allowed every one of them, which I thought was kind of surprising. And then I was like, all right, so the memes weren't getting me in trouble. All right, get rid of the memes. Now let's go to sharing conservative stuff. Sharing, retweeting, or creating my own, however you want to call all that. I don't use Twitter lingo. So anyways, with these posts, if they had any support for conservative views whatsoever, they got banned. And if I responded to somebody, got banned. It was crazy. The memes didn't get me banned, even though they did on Facebook, but the conservative views, specifically those views, got me banned on Twitter. And that was my test. Pure craziness. So anyways, in 2020, Facebook had started limiting the stuff that I had seen. When I would like a page or a person, I'm following them for a reason. I want to see their post, but nope. Facebook started cutting out most of the conservative pages that I liked, as well as many other pages that I hadn't seen for 6 months and just assumed that they had gotten shut down, but it was actually, I'm still following them. Facebook just doesn't allow me to see it. And even family members, I follow almost all of my family members on Facebook, but Facebook won't actually let me see them all. I have to go to their page in order to see their post, and that's pretty ridiculous. They even started limiting some of the news outlets that I watch. And the thing is, I don't stick to conservative news outlets or liberal news outlets. I watch all of them. I've got a wide range, pretty much follow every local news outlet, no matter what their political affiliation is. And even those, Facebook started limiting that I don't see. So it's pretty silly. And what really made me mad one day is I logged into Facebook, and they blocked my account temporarily until I changed my password, unfollowed a handful of conservative pages, even a religious page like Tim Tebow. It's not a super religious page, but he is a religious person, but he shares a lot of good faith stuff. But they made me unfollow him and they asked me to delete my 50 previous posts, which I did not do. So then, after all that crap, I had to log back into Facebook. I was able to refollow all those pages, and I still don't see them on my newsfeed. In fact, they're still limiting what I can and can't see, especially as we get closer to the election. They're starting to cut out more and more of the stuff that I'm used to seeing. As mentioned earlier, Facebook has now started banning my account with no reasoning behind it. Through the month of September, I served a 30-day ban. No notification as to why I was banned. No notice of the amount of time I was going to be banned. No flagged post, no flagged comment, nothing at all. Just all of a sudden, I'm scrolling through Facebook. I go to like something, I can't like something. I go to like something else, can't like or react to that. Try to post, can't share, nothing. And Facebook support is absolutely horrible. They blame it on COVID, but their support's been horrible since well before COVID. So needless to say, I'm all in on the fact that Facebook and Twitter do in fact censor anyone who doesn't believe in their liberal ideologies. This isn't saying, and please understand this, this is not me saying that I think anyone on the left is wrong and everybody on the right is correct. It's not that. It's just not the beliefs that I have. And it's okay to have different beliefs. I feel like we should all have that freedom of speech that our First Amendment gives us. Unfortunately, Facebook and Twitter, they don't give us that. They're essentially private companies that can act however they choose, but being that they are based in the United States, they should give us the same rights on their platforms that the laws give us, especially as the First Amendment for the freedom of speech. So this, like I said, the censoring is real. I wasn't a firm believer in 2016. In 2018, I saw it to be true, and it started happening to me directly several times on two different platforms. Instagram has yet to ban me, which I was kind of surprised, but then again, I rarely use it. I mostly use Facebook, especially since I'm trying to grow my YouTube through Facebook as well. But I've pretty much deleted all of my social medias. Twitter was honestly worse than Facebook. They didn't even try to hide it. Facebook at least tries to cover their tracks, but it's way too obvious. And it's not just me either. That's the thing. Like, I know I gave you a lot of personal examples, but that was kind of some of the history that I've had with the social medias. But it's really not just me. I see people nationwide complaining about the bias. I've seen people nationwide complaining about getting banned simply because they shared a conservative post or they're not seeing any of their conservative pages that they follow. And so it's pretty crazy. But in fact, they actually banned yesterday the White House Secretary of Press, Kayleigh McEnany, for sharing a New York Times post that New York Times had shared on Facebook and Twitter. And she got banned from Twitter for sharing it. And I think she actually got a temporary Facebook ban too that they lifted. So that leads me into yesterday's excitement. The New York Times posted on both Facebook and Twitter a story that involved Hunter Biden and his ties with Ukraine. The story was intriguing, especially since the New York Times usually is all about protecting the liberal side of things. It showed his ties, but it also showed Joe Biden's ties to Ukraine, which most people had already expected to see at some point, but we weren't sure what we were going to actually see. Facebook's policy communications director, who is a former staffer for several Democrats, announced that Facebook would not allow the sharing of this post and tried to limit the amount of people who were exposed to it. So basically, they were saving the Biden family's butts. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said that the actions of blocking the link to the article without explanation was acceptable. To me, he's not apologizing or feeling wrong about blocking it. He's just simply saying that they should have provided an explanation when they blocked it. Still protecting the Bidens. Of course, Zuckerberg has yet to comment, at least from when I started doing the research for this video. And that was the last thing I researched just to double check myself. But these are not the only censoring practices that these two tech giants have done over the last few years. They're censoring anyone that doesn't protect and support their ideologies, and it's pathetic. So what do I propose? For starters, I hope that Congress actually does something about it like they claim they will. We'll see. Also, I just delete the accounts when I can. I haven't deleted Facebook yet because, like I said, I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel through YouTube and Facebook, but I have a feeling that I'll be deleting my Facebook soon. I know, and I saw this post on Facebook, and I think the person who commented it was right. Deleting your account is what Facebook and Twitter wants, because if you disagree with them and they censor you and they basically bully you in a sense, to the point where you delete your account, that's kind of what they want, because the people that stay on, they want to try to manipulate the best they can and basically spread their propaganda to any sheep that will listen. So really, the companies just need to stop taking sides, because a lot of the stuff that they censor, their so-called fact checkers, are actually incorrect on most things that they censor. And it's pretty pathetic. So I think that the companies need to allow the freedom of speech. Yes, there are some limitations, because hate speech is never okay. The problem with determining what is hate speech is that different people that not only are raised differently, but they're from different parts of the world where Facebook does extend to, their form of hate speech varies. Some people, the United States, Americans, they love the United States. Most of us do anyways. And so there's countries out there, there's people and ideologies out there that hate the United States. So they would like to destroy it. Well, to us, that's hate speech, but to them, it's not. And I don't agree with communist governments. So communist governments would claim that's hate speech, whereas I don't think so. So, it really, determining what's hate speech is extremely difficult. But I think there are grounds that they can go, no racial, no racist comments, no sexist comments, homophobic comments, things like that. Obviously they can go ahead and go, those are wrong. We need to just cancel them. Anything that has that, just get rid of it off the platform. I totally get that, but like I said, depending on where you're at and how you're raised, where you're from, hate speech varies. So that's a tough one to tackle. And like I said, yes, they're private companies and not government owned. But if the government can rule that a cake decorator has to make a cake for a couple getting married that his religion doesn't agree with, they can force the social media giants to stop being prejudiced against those who disagree with them. It's a tough line to walk. You don't want to give the government too much power, but you have to have a certain balance with companies. And I think at this point, the tech giants have kind of screwed themselves because of some of their practices, really. Anyways, a couple of final thoughts. I've already mentioned it, but I want to reiterate this. I don't care who you are, what you believe in, what your religious or political views are, even what your sexual orientation is and whatever else. I really don't care. It's okay to disagree and still be friends. Sure, I tend to lean more Republican, but that doesn't mean I'm not friends with liberals. My fiance is pretty moderate, and it depends on the topic, depends on what her preference is. And I've got liberal friends. Most of my friends are conservative, but I've got I try to be well-rounded and have a lot of different friends. And I'm happy to be friends with anybody as long as you're willing and I'm willing to respect each other's differences. So please don't think because I think differently than you, or because we might disagree on something, that I don't respect you. Because it's okay to disagree and still be friends, still respect each other, and still enjoy each other's companies, or for, so to speak, you to learn things from me, because I'm still going to do tech stuff. Not all my videos are going to be controversial topics. I try to avoid political topics when possible, but this does involve technology, which brings me to my other final thought. I usually don't do videos pertaining to politics, and my page is mostly focused on tech. However, I do want to post a couple of controversial videos on my page here and there. Besides that, big tech and social media are technology, and what they do affects us all, even if you don't use social media. Say the only thing you do is look up YouTube videos, but you don't have a Facebook, you don't have a Twitter, or anything else. Social media giants, because they're so popular, social media can still affect and change the world around us, even if you don't participate. So, this video is still tech related, but it's, still controversial at the same time. So I felt like it was a good first controversial video to kind of get you going into this playlist. But anyways, thank you for sticking through this video with me. In the comment section down below, let me know if the social media bias has affected you. If it has or hasn't, just give me your thoughts as well. Just know that I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.